Let's have a seat. We'll get started again, please. So where we at? Boating or fisheries? No, we don't have any fisheries.
No, you don't hold the mic.
Huh?
They don't have us today.
Do what now?
They don't love the fisheries today.
We don't have this.
You can do this.
Is everybody ready? Okay. Before we get started with the next, I would like to recognize former Speaker of the House and Representative, and current member of the House, Kent Williams, is in our presence. We appreciate that. Thank you for coming. All right. The next item on our agenda is Boating and Law Enforcement Committee. So I'm going to recognize Chairman Cannon for that, please.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Yesterday, the Boating and Law Enforcement Committee voted on Proclamation 1310, a no-wake zone on Marion County Park, as presented by Chief Darren Ryder. Let me read briefly from it. The temporary suspension is granted in association with a TWRA marine permit issued to the Outboard Drag Boat Association for a drag boat race to be held in the immediate vicinity of Marion County Park Boat Ramp. The rule suspension is granted only to the participants and officials of the Outboard Drag Boat Association on October 11, 12, and 13 of this year from the hours of 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Measures will be taken to assure the public health, safety, and welfare and that aquatic habitat are reasonably protected and that adequate public notice is given. Mr. Chairman, the committee voted unanimously to approve this, and I'll bring that before you as a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Cannon. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion's been made. Is there any discussion among the commission?
I'm glad they got it in a timely manner this time,
Yeah.
and I commend them for that.
Amen.
Any discussion from the audience or questions? All right, I believe we're ready to vote. Okay, all those in favor of recommending the passage of Proclamation 13-10, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion passes. At this time, instead of moving to our next on the budget, I think at this time then I noticed that we have the presence of Senator Alexander with us. So
Don't change your schedule.
no, you want us to wait? Oh, my fault. Then we'll go ahead and move on to our budget committee. My apologies. At this time, then I'm going to ask Jeff Griggs to do a presentation for the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to ask Ed Carter, Executive Director, to come to the podium, please, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking him to come in front in case there's any questions that the commission or the audience may have for him, sir. Mr. Chairman, yesterday the Budget Committee met and voted on two different budgets. Currently, the expansions to the budget 2013 and 2014. It passed through committee, and I make that motion for approval today, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Griggs. So we have a motion to pass a proposed budget for 14-15.
No, sir, my motion on is.
We'll do them separate?
Yes, sir, I'm gonna do them separate. Motion on the floor is the expansions to budget 13 and 14.
All right. Do I have a second? All right. Is there any discussion among the commission? Any questions? Those in the audience? All right. We've had a motion to approve the passage of proposed budget FY 13-14.
Yes, sir.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also, yesterday in the Budget Committee, the committee passed the proposed budget for 2014-2015, and I so move that we pass that today in full committee, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion first and a second, then may have a vote for the passage of proposed budget 14-15. Is there any questions from the commission? Any of those from the audience? All right, so all in favor of passage of proposed budget for FY 14-15, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Director Carter. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Well, that includes the items on the agenda, but we do have a very important presentation to make, and I'm going to ask Director Carter to please do that for us.
Well, thanks again, and it's one of those times where they talk about introducing people and people that need no introductions, and that's certainly a cliche, but in this case, Senator Lamar Alexander has joined us, and it's appropriate that we take a pause here for a second to recognize a person who's done so many things for the outdoors people in this state. And we do have a resolution from the commission honoring that work that Senator Alexander has done, but as they say in the legislature, if I can take a moment of personal privilege here, just to say how much I appreciate not only the senator, but also his staff. I can't tell you the number of times, any hours, I mean, and I could go on to very late to very early, and instant responses back from the staff, working with the senator, and when it comes down to crunch time, we always know where he's going to be, and this is nothing new for him. When he was governor of the state of Tennessee, he actually attended one of our commission meetings, but he also was responsible for a big initiative called Tennesseans in the Outdoors. So this is not a new thing that he's done recently. This has been a lifelong commitment. And we also share a little bit, having the honor to have spent a lot of years growing up in the same area and loving that same part of Tennessee that is around the area where we are now. So we appreciate that. And over the last, it seems the last year, I know he probably hates it when my number shows up somewhere in his office because he knows I'm asking for something. And I've asked a lot over the last year in regard to things from the commission, things from the people of Tennessee, and he has certainly responded. That's dealt from everything from fishing issues to land acquisition issues, you name it. And part of that is in this resolution. And while I'm not the most eloquent reader in the world, I would like to just read the resolution in its entirety because I think it's that important. It's a resolution to express appreciation and to honor Senator Lamar Alexander for his significant efforts and contributions in support of the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency and the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission and outdoorsmen and women across the state. Senator, if you don't mind standing with me while I read that, I'd appreciate that. Whereas the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission, along with the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, has statutory responsibility for the preservation, protection, enhancement, and management of Tennessee's fish and wildlife and their habitats for the use, benefit, and enjoyment of the citizens of Tennessee and its visitors, and whereas Senator Lamar Alexander has been a long-time friend and advocate of Tennessee's outdoorsmen and women, and his efforts have significantly assisted the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Commission and the TWRA in preserving, protecting, enhancing, and managing Tennessee's fish and wildlife. And whereas in December 2012, the United States Army Corps of Engineers announced plans to restrict fishing access into tailwaters of 10 dams on the Cumberland River, and whereas the senator championed legislation titled Freedom to Fish Act, which became law on June the 3rd of 2013, that prohibits the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers from implementing fishing regulations on those tailwaters for at least 2 years, thus protecting the rights and freedoms for Tennesseans. And whereas the Irwin National Fish Hatchery in Irwin, Tennessee, and Dale Hollow National Fish Hatchery in Salina, Tennessee, were denied federal funding that would have resulted in the closure of the hatcheries, and whereas Senator Alexander was instrumental in helping to formulate a new agreement between the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, the Tennessee Valley Authority, and the United States Fish and Wildlife Service that will ensure funding for the hatcheries and safeguard stocked trout fisheries in Tennessee for the next 3 years. And whereas Senator Alexander's substantial efforts and support led to a significant conservation project, on May the 3rd, 2013, Brookfield Renewable Energy transferred 4,000 acres of Tennessee mountain forest land to the Nature Conservancy and in time to public ownership and eventually to the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. And whereas the conservation project known as Bridging the Smokies, which links the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and Cherokee National Forest, will guarantee the land's preservation and protection for future generations of Tennesseans. Now therefore be it resolved that the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission and the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency honors and publicly expresses its sincere appreciation to Senator Lamar Alexander for his efforts in support of the Commission, the agency, and the outdoorsmen and women of Tennessee.
Thank you. Thanks, Ed and Jeff, and to the members of the commission, thank you very much. I really should be thanking the commission, thanking the TWRA on behalf of all the outdoors men and women of Tennessee for what you do year in and year out. I mean, Egypt has its pyramids, and England has its history, and Italy has its art, and we have the great American outdoors, and no one enjoys it more than Tennesseans do. I mean, if you think about our state, from the Ducks Unlimited headquarters at the other end of the state to the governor's new park, Rocky Fork, which we all worked on together up in Greene and Unicoi County, and the fish hatcheries that Ed talked about. I guess it's 900,000 people with fishing licenses. I even brought a picture of a large fish caught in an undisclosed location. But we love the outdoors in Tennessee, and Ed and I both grew up around here. I guess Boy Scouts got me started. It introduced me to the outdoors, and I've loved it ever since, and my kids do, and my grandchildren are. So I thank you, and I'm glad to come here, and thank you for the resolution. But I really think I should be saying to the TWRA, thanks for the time you give, the difficult decisions that you make, and your stewardship of the outdoors that so many of us enjoy. Second thing I'd like to say is I think this is only the second time I've come to a meeting of the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, and it was named the Game and Fish Commission. When I came before, I told Ed about that. I was governor. In fact, I'd just been elected, and I saw that the Game and Fish Commission was meeting. And so I said to the staff, well, put it on my schedule. And they said, well, Governor, it's an independent agency. And I said, well, wait a minute, I'm the governor. I was elected. I walked across the state. I should go to the meeting and have my say. So I went to the Game and Fish Commission meeting down in Nashville, and it was a room about this size. There must have been 400 people in it. And it was steaming, and people's tempers were up, and everybody was mad. And I finally figured out they were arguing about hogs, whether they were going to move the hogs from West Tennessee to East Tennessee, or to East Tennessee to West Tennessee, and who was going to hunt hogs. And I listened for about 15 or 20 minutes, and the chairman finally called me. He said, Governor, do you have anything you'd like to say? I said, I don't think so. And I went back to my office, and I said to the staff, I said, you know, it's an independent agency, and the governor ought to recognize that. And they ought to make all those decisions. So this is only the second time I've been back to a full commission meeting, I think, in all that time. And I still recognize your independence, your wisdom on those decisions. Let me say one last thing. There have been a lot of things we worked on together. I mean, what Brookfield did with the Alcoa dams is terrific news for East Tennessee. I mean, that's several thousand more of the finest acres for fishing and hunting and hiking and outdoors anywhere in the eastern United States. And you're going to be managing a lot of that. And the Rocky Fork, new Rocky Fork Park, that's 10,000 acres. And Unicoi and Greene counties, the Wildlife Services, that was the single most important acquisition it made over the last 10 or 15 years, anywhere in the United States. And the fish hatcheries make our fishing some of the best fishing anywhere in the country. We go on and on about the things that you do. It also mentioned the Freedom to Fish Act, and sometimes with all the issues that we have, immigration and the debt and Obamacare, some people say to me, well, what were you doing fooling around with fishing below the dams on the Cumberland River. And I say, well, obviously you've never fished or you wouldn't ask me a question like that. There are about 900,000 Tennesseans with fishing licenses who understand it perfectly. But what the issue was more than just about fishing. It was really about a Washington overreach. It was about Washington really trying to hold our hands while we fish. And the way I learned about the outdoors is you go into the outdoors to evaluate risk, to be on your own, to be independent. And you're not there because you want a government telling you how to start the fire and where to camp, and where to fish, and where to live your life. So I think getting those decisions out of Washington back in the hands of the TWRA, when the outdoors men and women in Tennessee respect the TWRA, are involved in its decisions. Some of them are controversial, but we all have a say in what you do. So for boating safety and these other decisions, I think it's exactly right to have that here. We have gotten that taken care of for the next 2 years. Hopefully the legislation will pass to make it permanent. It's now been turned over to you to do. And so I'm not sure all 900,000 Tennesseans with fishing licenses fish below the 10 dams on the Cumberland River, but I think about 856,000 of them do, based upon the letters and the calls that I've received about all that. But it was more than it was about fishing. It was about being in the outdoors and making our decisions for ourselves. So thank you very much for letting me come by. You probably won't see me again here at your meeting for another 30 years or so. You make your own decisions, and I'm really here not just to accept a resolution honoring me, but to offer my thanks to you on behalf of all the outdoors men and women of Tennessee for what you do to conserve our great outdoors. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Senator Alexander, for gracing us with your presence. It's so awesome to have a voice in Washington for our outdoorsmen and for our agency, and what you've done for us in the past year is just nothing short of remarkable, and we certainly appreciate it. I think Commissioner Woodson had a comment also.
I will be very brief, but if we only get one shot every 30 years, then I want to make sure that I take a moment to recognize a patriot in Senator Alexander. He is obviously a friend to sportsmen in the state. He is an innovator and believes in the entrepreneurial spirit of the citizens of our state. As a two-term governor, recruited the auto industry and all of the suppliers that would create not just good but great jobs for generations of Tennesseans. I appreciate his honoring of our rights in the state to make decisions at the local and state level, and honors that even while he serves us diligently in DC. And I appreciate that very much. And I think one of the things that I appreciate most about Senator Alexander is that even as the state's #1 salesman and as an advocate for us, whether he's in our state or beyond our state, he has always recognized the critically important role of a great education system so that our students can get those great jobs and that they will be prepared for whatever life brings them, to make good decisions in the workforce or make good decisions as citizens and patriots themselves. And so I value and appreciate that, and I did not want to miss an opportunity. And all of that work as entrepreneur, as visionary, as states' rights leader, he still grounds himself in the heritage of our state. He knows what's important to outdoorsmen. He protects the 4 perfect seasons that we have, whether it's the Great Smoky Mountains in East Tennessee or this Cumberland River issue, which I have the privilege of representing the 5th District on the commission. And your work on this specific issue and so many others is a value to us. And so I want to echo the director's comments and thank you, Senator, for the work that you're doing. You have for so many decades served this state, and I greatly appreciate your patriotism. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Woodson. Director Carr, do you have anything else to say for this meeting?
Switching subjects for just a second, we talked about some of the new people in different roles inside the agency over the last couple of days here. And some of them, which we just filled a new one in East Tennessee. It's one of our information education jobs, which, as you can see, is uniquely important for all the things we're talking about, from whooping crane identification and those programs and everything else that we do. I just would ask John Gregory if he would introduce his new staff.
I guess I was gonna welcome you to Region 4, but thanks for coming to Region 4. Chairman, as many as you can, that drive to Nashville, I don't miss it, so.
I think we're coming back in October.
I
so.
know, well, before you go out, you know. No, I do welcome you and thank you for coming to Region 4, and it is my privilege to introduce my newest staff member. He's in my information specialist, we call him, I&E. His name is Matt Cameron. If Matt, you wanna maybe stand up or come up. One of the things that's impressed me about Matt is I've been the regional manager for 4 years, and before I got here, he's been a full-time boating officer for us around Douglas and Cherokee for 10 years. And before I even got around, he had already, in his own mind, decided what he would like to do for the agency, and that was to be in this position. And he went to Don, and he went to his predecessor, Alan Ricks, who passed away about 19 months ago, and just talked about what he could do to prepare himself to be in this position. And he went back to school and has taken advantage of the state's offer to pay for a class every semester, and has worked through some communications, and I don't know all the titles of the classes, but he went back to improve himself in preparation for this position. So we're proud to have him, and you'll see him on the Knoxville news channels and who knows where else. But appreciate it, Matt, and thank you.
Okay, then I guess we're gonna adjourn. Our next meeting is in Nashville on September 19th and 20th. And I believe we're gonna announce that there's gonna be a meeting that actually will start, a public meeting that will start that morning, correct? Do you wanna start at 8:30 or 9, or? What would y'all like to start?
About 8:30.
You wanna do 8:30, and then our actual committee meeting won't start until 1, okay? So, thank you so much for everybody's, I thought we had a great productive meeting, and appreciate everybody's support and response. So, y'all have safe travels. Thank you.